Hello, mon ami. They say that in the game, so I thought I would try to get fancy. Anyway, I am here to talk to you today about Clair Obscur Expedition 33, a game that has, quite frankly, surpassed any expectations I had, and it has quickly become one of my favorite games I've played this year. Has some of the best combat I've ever seen in video games. An incredibly memorable story, a very interesting story with some lovely, unforgettable characters, with phenomenal voice acting, and a beautiful world to explore. I have just had an absolute grand old time with this bad boy, so let's talk about it. So the world of Expedition 33 is inspired by, and I wrote it down in my notes, Belle Epoque, France. I probably am completely butchering that. Belle Epoque.
How to pronounce this French phrase? Belle Epoque.
Belle Epoque. Okay. Whole review can't be me pronouncing this. From my limited research, it sounds like this is the beautiful age, the area preceding World War I, where everyone was settled and comfortable and everything was supposedly great. Except for in this world, things ain't great. So you have this lady called the Paintress, and every year she paints a number on her monolith, and everyone who is that age, they die. They turn into dust or rose petals. They go poof, and they are never seen again. And obviously that creates a whole slew of problems. So every year, a small group of expeditioners go out in an attempt to sail across the sea and reach the monolith, which is on the other side of this thing called the continent, in an attempt to butcher that bitch. Because she just keeps killing people every year, and they've had enough of it, and I can't blame them. So you, friends, are part of Expedition 33, a small gaggle of characters originating from the town of Lumiere, where you are going to go sail across the sea, and like I said, hopefully, blot that bitch out. What's so interesting about this, though, is that you do get a little glimpse into what society would be like if every year an age group dies, which is morbid. And then you think about, well, what does this mean as a society? What do we do to protect our children in the future? What do we do with our freaking furniture? Do we have celebrations every year, or do we have funerals? What do you do when this is such a normal but sad part of your culture? So fascinating stuff. I really enjoyed kind of getting not a sneak peek. God, I hope it's not a sneak peek of what's to come. Oh. I enjoyed getting a glimpse into that life, even though I do not want that for my own. But you are, again, part of this expedition, and you don't really know much about this continent you are sailing to. And so that's also pretty cool, is that you get to experience this mysterious, unknown world for the first time alongside these characters, and you really don't know what to expect. And speaking of not knowing what to expect, this story will go places. You might think you know where the story is going, but I guarantee you don't. So props to the writing team for creating a story that was very unpredictable, which I love, because I feel like I tend to predict where these things are going, and I completely fell flat on my ass and had no clue. It's also full of twists and turns, betrayals, edge of your seat moments, some holy shit moments. Did they just do that? Packed within this beautiful story and beautiful world. So while the premise of this game is pretty morbid, the world and everything about this game, honestly, is just beautiful. And that sounds weird to say. This game really is just freaking stunning all around. Not only from a visual perspective, you have these gorgeous colors that are used, these vibrant colors, and you have these cutscenes that are just so incredibly well animated, and the voice acting is just, it all comes together so perfect just on its own. But then you have the soundtrack to this game, and this might be one of the most beautiful soundtracks in a video game. If I was still a jury for the Game Awards, this would absolutely be like my number one thought when it comes to soundtrack of the year, because hot damn. And throughout all of it, you have this amazing cast of characters by your side, and I love every single one of them. And that is such a hard thing to pull off, because I feel like by now, you'd have the characters that you just don't touch. They're just off to the side. Got too animated with my hands. But I mean, they're mostly off to the side. You don't use them because maybe they annoy you, or you don't like their combat style. They're just passively collecting XP and dust. I love them all the same. I'm constantly rotating them in and out. They provide such great insight into the world, and they tell you their secrets and their personal motivations. There's a friendship level system, which grants you extra cool, neat things, and they are just all so lovely. And there's some super duper funny writing in there. There's lots of moments of levity. Sometimes the game is very self-aware and kind of breaks that fourth wall a bit. Anyway, an absolute delight getting to know them. And I'll say it again, the voice acting is just freaking top notch. These actors absolutely crushed it. And I hope you enjoy getting to know these characters as much as I did, if you know what I mean. So as you're on your expeditioning, you will find yourself on the continent. This is the game's overworld map, and it acts as the hub for all of the little side levels or the main levels or little hidden areas. I love this map so much because it reminded me of older RPG maps where you eventually discover new ways to traverse and you find all sorts of secrets and nooks and crannies to go find. Lots of magic in this map, and I really, really enjoyed exploring it. And honestly, that is why I have not finished this game yet. But before you come at me, I'm 55 hours in and I'm on the final mission. So don't tell me I'm not qualified to talk about this game. Don't do it. But when it comes to the levels themselves, there's no HUD. So you have no mini-map, you have no breadcrumbs, you have no compass. You have to rely on your sense of direction to remember where you are going and kind of why you're going there, because there's also no journal to keep track of your side quest objectives. It does keep track of like what you have to do for the main story, but if you have any side stuff, that better all be up here or in your phone on a notepad like what I did, because otherwise it's nowhere. And I think you're going to see a lot of mixed reactions to this. On one hand, I think it's really cool because I think it lends itself to this whole expedition exploration thing. But on the other hand, as someone who struggles with object permanence, I have found myself forgetting and then remembering quest objectives that I had sought after, or I had gone to seek, or I had sought, whatever. Things I can't even talk right now. So if I could leave you with one piece of advice, it would be to take notes, remember where things are, remember where the enemies are that completely wrecked you, because otherwise it's just going to have to be up here or you're going to have to stumble across them again. This game has probably some of my all-time favorite combat ever. It is such a fun system that even 55 hours in, I am still diving headfirst into every combat encounter. I am still looking forward to turn-based combat after that amount of time because it is so engaging and so fun and so thrilling. Why is it so thrilling, you may ask? It's because there are timing elements to almost everything you do during combat. So you're always having to pay attention. And I love the rush I get when I nail like a 5 combo parry. So yes, it is turn-based, but every time an enemy attacks you, you have pretty much 4 different dodge options. An actual dodge, a parry, a jump, and something else. And you have to learn the enemy's movements and kind of pay attention to audio cues. So what's so cool about this system is that you can take on enemies you have absolutely no business taking on, and I can speak from experience. I have taken on enemies that could, in theory, one-hit me, but because I learned their movements, I was able to take them down. And the loot you get and the advantage you get from doing that, it is so rewarding. And the XP you get, there's a timing element also when you cast spells, and there's also this free aim option where you can shoot your little magic pistol at enemies and hit their weak spots, just like it's a third-person shooter. Oh, it is so freaking fun. And the spells themselves are not standard. So they're not like, ooh, I got fire, I got ice, I got lightning. Ooh. A lot of it is conditional. It's kind of like if X, then Y. So if you cast lightning while an enemy has this condition, you're going to deal this much damage. Or if you cast this spell while you are under this condition, you are going to do this much damage instead. So you can really get in the weeds when it comes to team synchrony, making sure all of your team members play off one each other really well with their spells. I'm getting all hot and bothered about this because I love it when a game lets you build broken characters, and I love it when a game lets you customize your characters to however you want to. Now, there is a respec option, so if you build a completely broken character, cool. But when your character levels up, you can assign the attribute points however you want, and there's so many different weapons you can choose from, so many different spells you can choose from, and then you have these luminous skills, which gives you, I feel like, 50 to 100, I don't even know how many there are because I doubt I found them all, different passives that you can add and subtract between battles as you see fit. You can build your character however you want depending on the situation you need them for. And it is a beautiful system. I would bang this system if I could. I mean, that's weird to say, but like I just love it. But if all of that sounds like it's a little too much and you don't want to have to worry about making sure your parries and your dodges are timed perfectly, you can lower the difficulty down, and that will lessen the requirements for the perfect input. So you don't have to worry about that so much. I am playing on the standard difficulty, which I think is just called Expedition. There is one below that, and I think there's 1 or 2 above that. I feel like my voice is going, but I'm trying to oh God. Before my voice completely goes tits up and puts me through a second puberty, I think I've pretty much recapped everything I really wanted to say. I mean, the combat, again, fucking stellar. The story, so unique. The cast of characters are so lovable. The map, it's so nostalgic, and there's so much magic in that map, in the exploration. I love how exploration is always rewarded. I'm still on the fence about how I feel about the lack of a mini-map or lack of breadcrumbs during level exploration, because on one hand, it's cool that it's like, oh yeah, I really am on an expedition. Look at me expeditioning. But on the other hand, it's like, man, my time is precious, and if I just lost 20 minutes exploring, that's kind of feels bad. But it's not that big of a deal because I've gotten through it just fine, and I am one directionally challenged person, so if I can do it, I guarantee you can too. But I do absolutely wish that there was some way I could write in a journal or some option so I could keep track of my side objectives or mark the overworld map so I knew where certain enemies were, because you want to fight those enemies because you get really good resources for doing it. But I mean, I guess that's why I have notepads in my phone. I'm just enamored with this game. I'm enamored with the IP, with the idea behind it. It is such a breath of fresh air, and I think that's something that we're all finding that we're really kind of leaning towards. We're loving these fresh, new, innovative ideas that we're seeing in the industry, and it is just such a good feeling to lose yourself in something like that. I can't remember the last time a new IP really grabbed me by, I was going to say by the balls, but clutched my heart. That's much more PG. So I hope you, viewer, are considering playing this. It is going to be on Game Pass, and if you are not on the Game Pass, it's going to be on other platforms. I think $49.99. I've seen it $49.99. Maybe it was on sale for like $44.99. I don't even know. Just look around. It is so unique and such a fun. I keep regurgitating the same words, and I hate regurgitating. What a disgusting word. Anyway, thank you for watching. I'm going to go now. Thanks for watching. Bye.